Welcome to Kermode Uncut. There's a theatrical reissue this week of Michaelangelo Antonioni's 1962 film L'Eclise, which is kind of like the third part of a thematic trilogy with L'Avventura and La Notte, dealing with modernity and its discontents. It won a special jury prize at Cannes when it first came out, and Martin Scorsese absolutely loves the movie. He said it redefined the nature of storytelling. For him, he said it was less like a story, more like a poem, and it kind of became emblematic of Antonioni's career. In fact, the most enigmatic work Antonioni ever made was in 1966 when he made Blow Up, this extraordinary film set in the middle of swinging London. David Hemmings, as a photographer who has outrageous sex in his photography studio, who teaches Vanessa Redgrave to smoke against the beat, and most famously takes a photograph of a park which has within it the image of a corpse, which he blows up further and further and becomes more and more sucked into the mystery of what this body may mean. Now, as I'm sure you know, everyone's argued for years about what does blow up mean. There's a central sequence in it in which you see a game of tennis being played in a park by these characters, but there's no tennis ball. The camera is actually following thin air. So is the film about the difference between imagination and reality, between fact and fiction, about the unreliability of memory and indeed photography? Well, years and years ago, I was in Hollywood and I fell into conversation with a really brilliant actor who subsequently became a great friend called Ronan O'Casey, and the subject of Blow Up came round. And I started talking about, imagination and reality and all these theories. And he said, well, that's interesting. I think that you can interpret it like that, but I also think that that may be sort of partly accidental. And I said, no, it's clearly deliberate. I mean, look at the whole thing with the photograph of the corpse. The movie is wondering who this person is, but the whole point is, we can't know. And it's deliberately enigmatic. There's no context. And Ronan said, well, of course, actually, when the film was first written, there was much more context. That character had a backstory, and it was much more explained, it was much more involved. And I said, well, I disagree. I think that Antonioni knew exactly what he was doing, and he was making this point. And Ronan said, yes, well, that's an interesting point of view. I beg to differ. And in this particular case, I think I'm right, because I played the corpse. You know that moment in Annie Hall when Woody Allen produces Marshall McLuhan from behind a screen? It was like that. Ronan O'Casey was a fantastic actor and a very good friend, and he is much missed. And one of the many things for which I will always love him is for giving me my very own Annie Hall moment.